Hey guys!
What's up?
Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, maybe I shouldn't wear my glasses because the light reflects off them. It's annoying. Content, right?
Content. And it's real.
Okay, I'm going to share this over to the group and then we'll get started in just a minute. So as you guys hop on, drop an emoji, letting us know what. We'll wait till we share it in the group. Hi! How do I share?
You gotta feel like a party up in here.
Yes. I have it right there. Hi guys. Welcome.
Monday night money making party.
Money making party. Come on. Share in a group. Clearly I'm a noob at all this, huh? There we go. Inviting all the people. All right. And for those of you who have no idea what's going on right now, we are live with our first day of our online flipping phenomenon challenge. We're doing 5 days of how to get started in reselling all the goods that we know, from how to earn consistent cash and get daily paydays, to how to structure your day, how to plan for your business, how to project your profits so that you can make the money that you want. We're so excited to have you, and if you have no idea what we're talking about and you haven't signed up yet, you can still sign up by going to withyourhoney.com/challenge. So that's that. All right, let's get started. Sweet. Oh, we were supposed to tell the people an emoji to drop. So drop an emoji for your mood for today. What your favorite thing is about Monday. Just drop your favorite emoji.
I need to pick up my emoji game because I can't, other than the poop and the smiley face, I don't know any emojis.
Oh yeah, my favorite emoji is this one, the hands. Okay. The praying hands, which is like thank you to me. Okay. And the double hearts, the little big heart and then the little heart next to it.
Can you be any cute?
No. All right, guys. Welcome to day 1 of the Online Flipping Phenomenon Challenge. This live is going to be this time, which is nighttime, but all of our other lives for the rest of the week are going to be at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. So that's that. Just want to welcome you guys.
Welcome. Let us know also. Let us know where you're watching from.
Yeah, what part of the country. We've sourced inventory for our reselling business in 3 corners of the country now. So I'd love to hear where you're from, and we can tell you what we know about your area in terms of getting great inventory. Yeah,
and
so
let
us know.
Where?
We sold online.
But all over the world, right?
Oh, yes. We sell about 5% of our inventory ships out internationally. So, cool. All right. For those of you who don't know us, my name is Hallie.
And I'm Jarrett.
Yes. We run a company called With Your Honey. We want to help couples become the couple that they've always admired through relationship tips, through business tips, and personal finance. So this kind of falls into our business topic. We have been running different businesses together since we met, which was more than 5 years ago. Jarrett, you got started in real estate. And what was the downside for you in real estate?
The downside for me in real estate was the fact that it was very economy dependent. So for me as a landlord, I was secure, but a lot of the people I rented houses or apartments to, 10 years ago when the recession started to kick in, these folks were getting hours cut back, they were getting laid off. And now all of a sudden their problems became my problem.
And it requires a lot of upfront cash and personal risk.
A lot of personal risk, a lot of cash, kind of high tolerance for taking chances. So yeah.
And then for me, I have a background in web design. And what I got fed up with freelance web design was that every time I took on a new job, I got a new boss. So I would have multiple bosses at one time. And I really got into the business of working for myself to be by myself. But I ended up with 5 bosses at a time instead of me as the boss. So that was the downside with freelancing and web design. And then we've actually met in MLM. We met in network marketing.
Absolutely.
Which was great. We personally recruited almost 200 people between the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
We paid our bills with network marketing. It's great, but there are definitely some drawbacks, which is number one, that only 3% of people are really going to have success. So if you have a heart for helping people, it can be challenging to help people get to where they want to go when they're required to get outside of their comfort zone to do so. And
right.
most people don't want to grow skills, don't want to get out of their comfort zone, don't want to talk to new people. So it was a challenge.
Right. And then, you know, kind of going in comparison to real estate, there's just a lot of things that are out of your control, right? So, you know, your success depends to a large part on, you know, what company and products you're representing.
And what changes they make.
On what changes. Like every time we turn around, there was some change that totally caught us off guard.
Right.
It depends on the people who, if you're looking to build a team, who you recruit and what they do. A lot of, like how I said, a lot of people are not willing to get uncomfortable and talk to people and get rejection. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's human nature. We have a protective function built in naturally. So, you know, network marketing is great. You know, I still love it, if I'm being honest, but it just, you know, it's tough for a lot of people. So the numbers don't lie. There's a reason very small percentage of people have any substantial results.
So
I forgot something. Can you keep talking?
Yeah.
Sure.
So this is how we got started in reselling. We were building a network marketing company. Things were going great, and then everything changed. In the company, there were a lot of changes. In the leadership, there were a lot of changes, and it was no longer working for us. And we were relying on network marketing to pay our bills. And every month, our residual income check was going down and down and down, and it just everything was starting to get tight. So we were looking for something to do that wasn't going to take a lot of time, that could earn us some extra income, some meaningful income, really. And, you know, we came across reselling, and we were like, we didn't think of it as a business. And 2 to 3 years ago, we probably wouldn't have even done this business because we would have looked down on it, laughed at it, thought it was beneath us. Like, that just wasn't something that was in our
purview.
Yeah. And so we were looking for something that was going to get us stronger results for our time, for our energy invested, for putting out. And we said, let's try reselling as a hobby. It doesn't take a lot of time, even if we do it for 5 to 10 hours a week. Not a big deal. And the first month, I think we made over $1,000.
Yeah, we were a little bit shocked at the results, actual cash, and that kind of gave us a glimmer of, okay, well, if we're just kind of playing around with this thing.
What do you say, pussyfooting it?
Pussyfooting it. You know, what could happen if we, really took just a little bit seriously? Because, you know, what were some of our requirements for reselling or any business that we're involved with?
So it has to have flexibility and freedom. We have to be able to make our own schedule. Yeah. We don't like being beholden to anyone or required to do anything. Obviously, like, we show up and we work hard, but we don't like being beholden to that work. And that was my issue personally with web design. It was like I was beholden to my clients. You have a deadline, you need this, and this, revise that, change that. It's just...
Right. And for me, one of the things that I like is something that allows our creativity and our ambition to really take the limits off. You know, if you're going to put the time and effort in, you know, I never liked the idea of being limited by compensation plan or by something. So I liked it because there were no limits to what we could do with it, how much or how little we did it, and quite frankly, the ability to scale or grow it as we decided it was ready. The time was right.
Mm-hmm. And when we started, we sold our own stuff.
Yes.
Like, we started with stuff that was in our house. We didn't go out and buy anything. We didn't make a major investment. We literally looked around and we're like, we have extra stuff. Let's list this and sell it. Right.
And we were shocked because, probably like most people, we had no idea the value of things on the secondhand market, right? You know, we all buy stuff. America is, everyone knows, is probably the biggest consumer country in the world, probably still.
Yeah, I think the average American household has like 300,000 individual items in their home.
Yeah, we have half of that behind us. And another statistic that kind of blew us away, but is absolutely true, is the fact that the United States, very uniquely, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, but as far as clothing items, fully 1/3 or 33% of all clothes ever purchased are never worn. Right? I'm sure, I know I'm to blame for that. I'm sure you are too, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have some mistakes that are still hanging up in your closet or folded in your dresser. So we were just shocked at the market for things, and it's kind of funny because I've personally been buying online for
forever.
Upwards of 15 or 20 years.
Since 2001, you've had your eBay account.
So, I mean, I've spent all kind of money. I bought all kinds of things. It just never dawned on us until recently to say, you know what, let's turn this scenario around and take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm. So that first 30 days, we made more than what our network marketing company was bringing in on a residual basis. Right. And that's when we kind of opened our eyes to it. So that was the first month in. We figured out a few months later, after we kind of exhausted all of the inventory that we could find in our own house, we started going to yard sales. Yes. And we found out that we could turn a few quarters into $20. Right. Like really, really consistently. Right. Easily, and like without the effort, without talking to people, which is, some of you guys, that was like your biggest selling point for joining this challenge, was not having to talk to people. And I literally very, very rarely have to get on the phone and call eBay customer support, maybe once a month. Mm-hmm. Right?
Absolutely. So again, going back, you know, at a certain stage in your life, you start to realize there's no point of always kind of pushing against the grain or fighting the tide. Mm-hmm. Tide.
Fighting the tide.
The tide. So, you know, for us, it's no different. You know, we realize, you know, this is a great business because you can offer things to people. You can service them without ever having to see them or put up with any shit. Mm-hmm. Or any attitudes, or get over any. There's no fear. There's no rejection.
There's no rejection.
You know, so for most people, it eliminates a lot of the reasons that a lot of people shy away from business in the first place. So we absolutely love that.
Right, and then for a lot of people who are starting online businesses, you have to do market research. You have to like do surveys and invest in all this stuff getting started. And this didn't require any of that. It didn't require sales calls or nothing. So we love the idea that it didn't take us away from what we were already doing, because we still build our other businesses. We still to this day work our reselling business part-time.
Right. So if you're busy like most people are these days, mm-hmm. You will absolutely love this because you can kind of fit it in and around everything that you have going on right now. So that's just a great thing to do, and it's just very relevant because more and more people are not even just working busy with one job, right? I mean, how common is it for you to know people who have 2 or 3 jobs, mm-hmm. or these side hustles, and you know, what are we in this gig economy now?
Yeah, I heard this girl say that her, in a Facebook group, her boyfriend has a full-time job and she's home with the baby, and she has 2 part-time jobs, and people were telling her, oh, well, you should get hey Monique.
Hey Monique.
They were telling her you should get a 3rd part-time job. And she has a newborn baby, like her baby's not even a year old.
Right. So she already has a job with a newborn baby?
Yeah, she has 2 part-time jobs
2
already.
part-time jobs. So mm-hmm. again, one of the things we're very passionate about is our time. Like we're very protective of our time and our freedom, right? So, you know, once we learned the business and the blessing that this was, we decided, you know, why not share this? Because, you know, if I was a new parent, you know, with a newborn baby, and I had a way to make probably more money than she's making on a part-time job,
oh, absolutely,
right? Or 2 part-time jobs, you know, why not share it? So, you know, we just love being able to offer this blessing and kind of turn on that little light bulb in people's heads the way, you know, it was turned on for ours.
Mm-hmm. So then within the first 6 months of starting this business, we started to reach $5K a month consistently. And that's kind of our results. And that's what led, you know, obviously, so when we were starting out, it was first 6 months were like typically less than 5,000. And then 6 months and on, we were consistently at 5,000 and above, which led to our first year being a 60K year, mm-hmm. part-time, reselling online. Right. So we're going to get into how to get started today. We're going to get into some really, how do I say it, like pretty detailed information that's going to help you get started, because the goal of this is to help you guys make money sooner rather than later. Right. Like people get into debt during the holidays. People want to create new income for the new year. Right. So that's why we're doing this challenge now. We know it's the week before Christmas. Things are busy. So as you guys are going throughout this week, tune into the replays. If you can't make it live, if you have any questions, drop them in the group. We're here to be of service to you guys. Knowing that...
I'm sorry, I'll cut you off. But just as an aside, too, one of the things that, at least for me, from a timing standpoint, and one of the reasons we wore our little Game of Thrones shirts.
Oh, can you have it? So what is your shirt?
My shirt says Fire and Blood.
And my shirt says, let's see if you can see it. I drink and I know things.
Favorite quote from our guy, Tyrion Lannister. But the point is, one of our other favorite characters who was on the show, Ned Stark, used to always say, winter's coming, mm-hmm. right? So for a lot of people, and again, I told you about, you know, my history with business and some of the struggles. going back 10 years ago when the economy really started to turn, we just noticed a lot of things that are starting to be eerily similar to that. So whether it's a government shutdown, right, or these big companies that are cutting back and laying off people, you want to put yourself in a position where you have insurance for your income, right? We have insurance for everything else.
Right.
A lot of people don't have income insurance. So one thing is big for us is to be diversified, and then to put things in place that allows you to kind of mitigate your risk in when that winter actually strikes.
Multiple streams of income and recession-proof income.
Recession-proof is huge.
Where are we at? Oh, so today we're now approaching 6 figures part-time in our reselling business, and in 2019 we're going to be scaling our business and hiring out more of the jobs. Earlier this year we did have an employee, but then since we moved to the Pacific Northwest, we haven't hired anyone yet. But we still, to this day, work this business part-time.
Right, which is great for you. So again, depending and based on your available time, based on your ambition and how much money you want to make, you can work this business very kind of small time, I'll say. And then for those of you who do think big or get to a certain point and there's certain things you want to hand off, it's very scalable where you can bring people in to do things that you can or don't want to do.
Right. And I had a lot of messages today asking, why are you guys doing this? They're like, does it cost anything to be in the challenge? Why are you doing this? So, couple things. We have a course that is coming out. It's called 0 to 60. It's going to walk you through everything from the back end of our business, like how we do everything. We're going to take you behind the scenes, show you PayPal, show you how we set everything up. I'm going to walk you through our listing process, through our shipping process, everything. So it's going to be a full behind the scenes course of our business so that you can replicate it and do pretty much everything exactly the way that we do. So that's launching in January. So this free challenge is leading into the course. But if you aren't called to do the course, if you don't feel like it would be a great fit for you, that's totally fine. You're going to still get a ton of value out of this week. We're going to give you so many details that we don't share publicly normally.
Right, and these are details that it took us the better part of a year to learn. Right. So anything you do, you want to kind of learn what people know, so it can help shorten your learning curve. And I wish we had a resource like this that kind of compiled a bunch of stuff in one area, because we got ideas and nuggets and lessons from here and there. Some lessons more expensive than others, but
some terrible advice. Oh my gosh.
Right. And the reality is everything doesn't work for everybody.
True.
So what we'll encourage you to do is keep your ears open, take notes, and find out what works for you in not only in your life, what you're comfortable with, what you're excited about, but also where you live at.
Right. And this has been such a big blessing to us. We truly do want to share and get back and help people, because it was, there are other people who opened our eyes to the possibilities with this business, and now we're here to do the same for you.
Absolutely.
And put it in an organized fashion that you can actually benefit from and not spend months and months on trial and error like we did.
Right.
Cool. So let's get started with the training. So as we mentioned, my friends from California sharing the business. Yay! So I totally lost my train of thought reading the comments.
Getting started.
So getting started in the business. Like we said, we started selling our own stuff. So I want to share with you guys some of the things that we had started selling, either from that bad advice that I was just talking about or from our own cockamamie ideas. And then we'll talk about the items that we decided to focus on and why we think that you should focus on them too.
And pay attention, because for a lot of people, what we're going to show you right now can generate, like it did for us, an extra, $1,000 or more just in your first couple weeks or first, month or so.
And if you end up wanting to do the course and your spouse or, even yourself, you're saying to yourself, well, I don't want to spend money investing in learning this, you can generate this extra income and then you can justify
paying for the course.
Right. So if that's what you want to do. And if not, pay off your debt,
we thought
pocket the
great.
money, whatever.
Right. So check it out, because I got excited about this. Most businesses and things that are presented to us, well, what's the price tag?
Right. I had people ask me that a lot today. So one of the first things we started selling were mugs and glasses. So I'll show you. I actually pulled this out of our inventory. So this is
Walter Payton. So it's a football Hall of Famer, running back for the Bears. That's a old drinking glass. And it's actually vintage. So this is probably 20 years old. But this is really good. I also grabbed the one down there, the sheriff one, because that's the one that gets a lot of attention and interest.
This is a Orange County Deputy Sheriff's association.
Right, right. So again,
This
it's
is just
an
a mug.
old mug, but we've literally sold mugs in China and things like that for over $100, believe it or not. So that's a Queen's Mary.
This is like
Long Beach.
Yeah, a commemorative opening edition for the Queen Mary. What is this? Made in England.
1980s.
Doesn't say.
So
whenever it opens.
that's all right.
It's an old mug. So we sold mugs.
So again, go through your cupboards. If you have mugs that you don't use, it was actually a really cool story. You were traveling and you bought a Starbucks mug
In Hawaii. I went to Hawaii and I bought one of their, if you go to different Starbucks around the world, how each location has mugs with their names on it. So I bought one in Hawaii, gosh, when I was in the 7th grade. So it was like,
that long ago?
Yeah, I was like 12? No, maybe it was earlier, because I went to Hawaii in college too.
Okay.
It was either from college or from...
All right.
But anyway, it was old, and I never used it, didn't really care that much about it, and then we ended up selling that for like $30.
$30. So again, right in your kitchen cupboard, I guarantee you there's some things that you can sell to get this party started.
Right. Other things that we sold included books. This also came out of our inventory. This is one of my college textbooks for a philosophy class. And then we found this. It's a report of an expedition to Africa in the search of natural enemies of fruit flies. And we've already gotten offered, $70 for this book or something?
Yeah, that book's from 1918 or 1940. When is that book from?
1914.
1914. So that book's over 100 years old. So again, if you've been, and that's cool. But a lot of people have these laying around, right? So if you've went to college or if you have kids that are going to college, we spend all kinds of money on these books, and there's still people who are looking to buy them for whatever reason.
This book is stingy. So.
Right. So they don't have to be in good shape depending on it. So again, books, typically one of the things that they kind of find their way into a corner of the basement and end up rotting because we got them in boxes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But they have great value, so that's an easy one to make some money with.
We also sold out of our closets clothes. I actually pulled this out of my closet just now. I'm going to list this. It's Laundry by Shelley Segal, blazer, little plum colored blazer.
I like that. You don't wear it?
I never wear it, so I'm going to list it. And it'll sell.
Okay.
I'll take the money for it.
Okay. Let me jump in. So
clothes.
You guys who have things in your garage, right?
Hi, Maria.
Hey, Maria. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. So, again, when we were getting started, we went through our kitchen, we went through our bedroom, our closets, and then also dipped down into the garage. So this is a great example. This is the stock taillights on our Jeep Wrangler, and I actually upgraded them to some really cool LED ones. But I went online and I found out that people still buy these. They're in good condition, right? And I did some comping, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I found out that you can still sell these for $50 to $60 for people who maybe they break theirs or they get stolen or whatever. So again, I went through the garage and I grabbed everything. Took some time learning how to comp it, and sold a bunch of car parts, a bunch of motorcycle parts to the tune of several thousands of dollars, believe it or not. So again, go through your garage.
We also went through, not that we have any kids living with us, so this is one of the things we sourced, but you probably have them in your house, stuffed animals. So this is hideous, in my opinion, beaver with this little beaver. What do you call beaver babies? Cubs?
Beaver babies.
Beaver babies. Does anyone know what you call a baby beaver? Can you write that in the comments and let us know? Right. So that's an example. This is this one's a little more special.
That one's cool.
So this is Albert the Running Bear, which is from USC?
Yeah.
UCLA. So it's a vintage running bear.
And this bear, to give you context,
1979.
This bear is almost as old as I am, right? So 1979.
And you probably have old stuffed animals that you don't care about.
I guarantee.
Keep the things you care about, but the stuff you don't care about, get rid of it.
And
make money.
And a couple little bonuses. It's a great way, to free up space, right? So as we're going through the house selling things to get started, we've cleared out closets and made all kind of room for things. So, and typically bears are one of the things where once you buy it and the kids get older, they get put to the side and they're never even thought of. Which leads me to another nugget that we learned. When it comes to things that are old or seasoned or vintage, big money for them. A huge market for things that are vintage. So a bear like this, probably you wouldn't look at it twice, but the fact that it's from 1979, there are people who collect stuff like this, right? So they would literally spend upwards of $50 to $100 because where are you going to get it from right now, if not from someone like you, right?
Last example from out of the house is, let me see if I can not break it. Board games. We have board games, huh?
I said Yahtzee. No.
Oh, Yahtzee. Board games are great and not great. I personally don't like selling them. If you have them in your house to sell, great. But I wouldn't necessarily buy them to resell. And we'll talk about what we buy to resell.
You got all excited about buying them for a hot minute.
Yeah, he got excited about the stuffed animals. I got excited about the board games.
Yeah.
I think the stuffed animals are winning.
Oh, stuffed animals are killing it.
But we don't like selling either of them. They're not our favorite things to sell.
Right, so we've matured. We've kind of figured out a business model that works for us, and we're going to kind of encourage and help you do the same for you.
Right.
What's next?
So what do you need in the beginning to get started? Oh,
that wasn't everything. I have some other cool stuff.
Oh, go ahead.
Just really quickly, because again, this is stuff, guys, that I know every single one of you have laying around, and you can allow
sell this week.
You can allow it to keep collecting dust, or you can kind of listen, learn, and sell it this week. So one of the other things that I know we all have are old cell phones, right? So right here you see pictured. This is one of my more recent cell phones, and I like it, but guess what? I don't like it, and I don't really need it. So this is listed. And if again, going back to the vintage thing, I don't know if you guys have any of these things lying around. You probably laugh at it, right? This is from those of you guys on the East Coast. This is from Singular before there was AT&T Wireless. You ever hear of Singular?
Of course.
So again, you laugh at it, but there are people who buy this kind of stuff, right? So don't sleep on this. This is easy cash generation stuff. One other thing that we were shocked about.
And I also want to say this really quick, because at this point, if you're tuning in and you're completely new to reselling, you're like, okay, so number one, how much are you really getting for this stuff? Number two, why would selling an old cell phone or stuffed animal be worth my time?
Right.
Because compared to if you put that stuff out of yard sale where people are going to
nickel and dime you. Or...
Yes. And, it's just not going to be worth it. You're going to spend more time. You're going to spend hours and hours on a Saturday morning out in the driveway.
You remember those yard sales we did?
Yes, I have. We have an ulterior motive, but that's another story.
They were like some of the longest days of my life.
Right, waking up early, putting up signs. So it's totally not like that. Our average sale price is, around 20, above 20. Mm-hmm. So when we're talking to you about these things, just keep in mind that this stuff didn't cost us anything, and we're selling it for 20 or above on average, So like we sold several things today that were above 50. We sold things today that were around $10 to $13. So it all averages out to 20 or slightly above 20 is our average sale price.
Right, and the stuff adds up, guys. You're looking at everything singularly, but
singular. Huh? Yeah, we sold dozens of.
But the stuff adds up. So before you know it, a handful of items now you have hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Another thing, really quick, that I was shocked about, but again, it was a learning experience for us, were boxes. Right? How many of you guys have empty boxes? Like I guess I got it from my dad, but I keep boxes for just about everything. And you laugh at me. This is a box for a laptop I just bought.
Box keeping.
But one of the things that I sold that literally floored me was I had an old iPad box, and I think I might have told this story before. But put this box up there, $28, guys, for an old iPad box. So people literally collect the boxes and things like that for whatever reason, right? So again, if you have old boxes, put them up. Just a couple more things, and then we can move on.
Okay, quickly.
Do you have things that you can't fit anymore, right? So everyone has stuff like that. So this is like an old jersey. I won't sell this because it's kind of near and dear to me, being from Philly. But this is an old basketball jersey that is too big for me to really wear and not look sloppy. But if you have stuff like that, people buy it. And again, at this stage, the older things are, the better, because it's vintage. And then just really quickly, for those of you who do have kids clothes. If you buy your kids expensive clothes, and I know a lot of you do, they have value, right? So instead of giving them away,
what is that?
This is just a pair of pants.
They have like water-resistant zippers.
They do. This is a pretty decent pair of pants called Zara Boys. So again, stuff like this, guys, don't give it away because it has value. There are people who would spend $15, $20 or more on things like this.
Yep.
So
what do you need to get started? So you've gone around, you've collected all the odds and ends stuff that you don't need in your house, don't want in your house anymore, and you're going to list it. So what do you need? Jared and I had a little bit of disagreement about this. I said one of the first things you need is a window with indirect sunlight. If you can't have access to that, fine. Maybe you can only photograph your items at night, but you're going to need to photograph your items. You can do it in regular light. Well, we have an actual, photography light behind us. But if you could only do it in like the regular lights in your house, it's fine. People do sell items like that. But when we got started, we tried to shoot during the day. So if you're home during the day, or if you have time, you can shoot all of your items on the weekend. But you're going to get the best images in indirect sunlight. So go near a window, and wherever it's not directly shining down on the item, kind of in the shade, but near the light, indirect. Everybody knows what indirect light is, right? That's the best place to take photos, but you don't have to. So that's optional, the first thing. Second thing is
a cell phone. Smartphone. So with the smartphone, obviously, I'll probably say 90% of your business you can run right through your smartphone, between the apps and the camera that's incorporated, and the calculator, and I mean, you probably can do almost everything here. You know, as you scale your business, there's some other things, but smartphone to get you some really good results. So if you have anything that's fairly modern or recent, you should be good to go.
And then there's you want the eBay app. The reason we encourage people, especially to get started, is to sell on the app, is because eBay has the most buyers. They have the most visitors, the most active users, the most buyers. So that, for us, was where we started and where we still do the majority of our business. There are other apps out there, and people make full-time incomes on them, from Poshmark, Mercari, ThreadUp, Amazon. There are other options, but eBay is the lowest barrier of entry in terms of learning, the lowest learning curve, the least amount of time to put in, and the most buyers. So, well, except for Amazon, I guess. But in the used market, like, Amazon doesn't have more.
No, but another one that you didn't mention, I don't think, is Facebook Marketplace. So no matter where you live, typically there's a marketplace in your area. So for example, like going back to the old tail light for my Jeep, right? Again, it'll sell on eBay very easily, but it also sell. You could list something like this for free, you know, on your local marketplace on Facebook.
Right. So you want the eBay app. You'll need a PayPal account to receive money, and then you'll need a couple other things. I'm not going to grab them right now, just in the interest of time. But that would be a scale, because you're going to need to weigh your items. You're going to ship your items out once they sell. And that was the way that we lost money early on, was not accurately calculating the shipping. And then by the time it sold, it cost way more to ship than what we anticipated.
That was my fault. Normally when we made that mistake, it was because I kind of rushed and said, oh, it's close enough or something like that. So and what kind of scale?
Well, a shipping scale is ideal. They're maybe $10, and I can give you a link to the one that we use. But we started with a kitchen scale.
Kitchen scale. So
we literally started with this kind of scale you have in your kitchen, and it works. It's typically, if you have a scale that can measure at least up to a pound, because if it's more than a pound, it's pretty straightforward what it's going to cost. If it's under a pound, you can't really lose money either. But so you want to know. Typically, I mean, I would go up to at least 8 pounds. If your scale goes up to 8 pounds, that's fine. It can't be like a bathroom scale, like that you weigh your body on, because it won't register ounces. So you need something that can register ounces. You also need poly mailers.
What's a poly mailer?
Let me grab. I will grab that. I guess I'll grab the scale too then if I'm over here.
Yeah, grab it. Hope you guys are getting something out of this. If you are, you're still hanging in there with us. I know it's late on the East Coast, but if you are, give some hearts and some likes and thumbs up. Let us know that you're rocking out with us and you're getting something from this crash course. This is a full crash course into our business. Okay, so this is a poly mailer. It's just a plastic baggie that has self-adhesive on it. And it opens up. You can ship stuffed animals, clothing, because we primarily sell clothing. This is normally what we ship out in. Where's the best place to get these from? You can get them on Amazon. You can get 100 for $10. Can we help people with that? Or? Yes, I have a link to this exact product that we use. And can I say that real quick? So again, through going back to trial and error, we've kind of bought some ones that were so thin you could damn near see through them, right? And then we bought those same ones. Half of them, the adhesive wouldn't come off. Release. I mean, just so sometimes in business, a lot of times, honestly, saving money can cost you way more money and headache. So you know, we're going through a bunch of different ones to find ones that are still cheap, but are high quality, and make sure they get to where they're going in one place, in one piece. Also, for things that are over a pound, you can get free boxes and envelopes. Hi, Carrie. You can get free boxes and envelopes from UPS. USPS. We went out of focus. How to refocus it? Oh boy. Just keep talking about that. All right. Correct. I think I'm showing it too much stuff.
It doesn't know what to do. So, oh, good. This is the scale that we use that I was talking about. It's not plugged in, but it's battery operated or plug-in.
So that was important because, again, one of the things we like and really love about reselling is that you can do it from home, which we do, and you can also do it on the go.
Like if you were RVing, like we were gonna do, you could put batteries in this.
Yeah. Or we actually, we went to go visit my parents, and we were on the East Coast for about a week at least. And you can take that, put batteries in it, and do the same thing.
Cool story. Before we moved up here to the Pacific Northwest, we came up here and visited, and we sourced inventory while we were here, listed it while we were here, and we sold some of the items while we were here for like less than a week.
Yeah.
And we used the scale, and then we went to the post office and printed it out. So that was great, and that was a great sale. It was like $100.
And I like that scale incidentally because I think that goes up to 50 pounds if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's nice. It goes up to 50 pounds, and then it has this little thing. Sometimes it's hard to balance stuff on the flat thing, so it kind of opens, so you can kind of lean stuff against it.
Yeah, that was a good one. So again, you don't need it up front, but as you graduate, scale your business, start making money, it's definitely paid for itself several times over.
And I want to say this was like $13.
Is that it, really?
Something like that. It was cheap.
And it's a tax write-off, so.
And then, so just to recap, so we said indirect lighting, smartphone, eBay app, PayPal account, scale, poly mailers, and the last thing is a printer. So you can get away without a printer. We started with like no money. Things were freaking tight as heck. We did not have any extra money. So you can go to the UPS store or like a print shop and print the envelopes when you need to ship, and then just
like a FedEx store.
Yeah, and take them to the postal service. You can also pay for postage at the postal service, which would require you to not have a printer, but you'll pay more for shipping, so I wouldn't recommend that. So we used a regular paper printer, and then once we, after a few months of hitting that consistent 5K, Jarrett finally convinced me to buy what the grand poopah of printers, which is this. It's a label printer. It's called the Dymo Label Writer 4XL. It prints labels. It's ink free, so it's all heat transfer. So I just buy labels.
Sorry,
we're having a mess over here. So I love this. Doesn't require any ink. It's fantastic.
And the reason why the printer was...
But you don't need this in the beginning.
No, you don't. But the reason why the printer, and my wife is so practical, it drives me crazy sometimes. Sometimes overly practical. So again, going back to saving money. So literally, can I see that poly mailer? Well, what she would do really in the beginning was for every time we would sell something and ship it out, we'd have the poly mailer, and then like say this is the printing label that you print off of your printer. She would literally...
I'd have to cut the label out of
a piece of
full size
tape
8.5 by 11
on 4 sides. So just imagine sitting there with a roll of tape, cutting it 4 sides every time you send something out. And it just got to the point for us, especially having other businesses and other things going on, it just didn't make sense.
Yeah, the label printer saves me.
So I finally kind of twisted her arm and say, listen, we're getting this printer, and the amount of time and headache, I probably couldn't put a price on it. So definitely a good investment.
And I think that's probably like the biggest investment we made, right? Have we spent more on anything else? From a supply standpoint?
From a necessity standpoint, no. I mean, there's other things that we've gotten since. Like I kind of used our reselling business as an excuse to upgrade to a new cell phone, kind of because I just wanted the Note 9 anyway.
Right, but you would have done that no matter what we were doing.
As far as things that you absolutely need, no.
No, and that was $185. So, and again, it doesn't need ink, so I only have to buy labels for it, which are cheap. They're like 4 cents a label or something like that.
Yeah, so you buy them by the roll.
Yeah, and I buy them in bulk. Okay, so that's all you really need to get started.
Right, and again, going back to listing stuff around the house, the great thing is that by doing that, selling old stuff, kind of subsidizes all of the things that you would ever need in this business.
So once you do run out of stuff, and like I said, this is kind of the crash course day where we're going through a high-level overview of everything in the business so that you guys can go out and in the next day or two get your first listings up. So that's basically the beginning stages. I do want to talk a little bit about sourcing, some of the places we get inventory, because I know that's a big question for people. Yeah. So once we ran out of stuff to sell at our house, we started going to yard sales and estate sales. Not bad. We got a lot of great stuff, a lot of inexpensive stuff, learned a lot. Mm-hmm. But the reason we didn't like it is, number one, going back to time. There were some Saturdays where we went out and we would spend 3-4 hours and not buy anything. Yeah. And then you're driving from location to location. We would go to anywhere from 10 to 15 yard sales on a Saturday morning. And we would do that Friday, Saturday.
No, actually, I mean, in the summertime and based on where you live, I mean, there were sometimes we would start our yard sale week on a Thursday, right? So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it was just, I mean, it's great and a great way to get outside, meet people and learn the area, right? But again, it comes with the cost of time.
And a very variable cost, very variable. Your costs of your inventory are variable because, I still want to say very variable, because you know, you go to one yard sale and someone's willing to sell stuff for 25 cents. You go to another one, people want $5 for the clothing item.
Right. So it's hard to make your business consistent and kind of duplicatable. So the sooner you can kind of know what your model is, how much you can expect to pay for things on average, you know, the sooner you can really understand and start making more money.
And so that led us to going to Goodwill and Salvation Army, which were okay, but you're going to be spending probably 5 times more than necessary. At the Goodwill, you know, decent clothing items are priced anywhere from $6 to $13, which is great if you're buying for yourself and you're saving off retail, which could be $20 to $80 plus dollars. But in terms of running it as a business, we found that the Goodwill outlet was like the holy grail for us of sourcing. And we can talk more about that if you guys have questions on what that means and how it works. But once we started going there, we really were able to get our costs under control. And now the average price we pay for inventory is, what, 80 cents an item? 75 cents to $1
within that range. And we know to the penny because, again, it's just so consistent. Another one that's not as consistent, but I like the times we've done it so far, are storage auctions. So again, if you have the time and the inclination, there's some pretty interesting buys to be had by going to storage places that people, for whatever reason, couldn't or wouldn't pay their storage rent, and they're auctioning things off. So just another thing to keep in mind.
So once you've sourced your items, whether you're starting out sourcing from your own house or you go to yard sale or you go to Goodwill or an outlet, the next thing you're going to do after you've sourced those items and get them together is you're going to list them. So that includes putting stuff on a plain backdrop. So I don't recommend a sheet because it's very wrinkly. It doesn't show up well. So either a blanket works.
And specifically, I like, because I do a lot of the sheeting, but if it's called flat lay, where you're laying it down, you know, on the ground or a bed, I found that a fleece, that's the material, right?
I don't know if it's like not traditional fleece, like a plush kind of. We'll get the name of it.
I'm going to call it like a fleece blanket, and specifically white back as a background just tends to look...
Light colored, light gray,
yeah, it looks really good.
Even.
Right. So just, I mean, if you have it laying around, I think we ended up picking one up for, I don't know, $5 somewhere, $10 somewhere, whatever the cost was, for like a full or queen size equivalent.
Yeah, and then so the lighter the background, the better. But it could be your carpet in your house, it could be your tile, it could be a blanket, like we said.
Yeah, and again, going back, this is like there's a book that we like a lot called The Power of Broke, right? So don't ever let cost be your hurdle to getting started. There were some times in the beginning, right? Hallie might be in the kitchen cooking, and I would literally be on the island in the kitchen. I don't know if you remember this, but I would lay stuff out on the island, and it wasn't a light background. It was whatever, tile or granite. And I took pictures, and again, the stuff sold. So the other great thing about this business, it doesn't have to be perfect, very low risk. So again, just use whatever you got to get started.
So the plain backdrop, the smartphone we already talked about. Now, when you're listing on eBay, you're going to either list in one or two ways. You're going to list as a 7-day auction, or as a buy it now that's good till canceled.
Now, how do you know how much to charge for something?
We'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
So the auctions are great to get stuff bid up, and we typically do stuff on auction that we think has a high demand, that we think is more rare, unique, and valuable. There's a couple ways you can do it. Right now, because we've been doing this business for 2 years now.
Going on 2 years.
We have a disagreement on how long we've been doing this business. If we started January 2017.
Okay. Is it January 19th?
No, so we're going into our 3rd year. We've completed 2 years next month.
I call it 2 years.
All right. So whatever you want to call it. So we have a really good understanding of our business and our inventory and our market. So we do a lot of dollar auctions, believe it or not, that get bid up. And we can take that risk because we are, number one, we have volume such that even if the item doesn't get a lot of bidding activity and it doesn't increase in the price, in the final sale price, we can afford the hit and we offset it with charging more for shipping, so we can't lose. Mm-hmm. That's today. Now, if you have something like, say, like when we got started, one of the clothing items Jared sold was a fur coat that he had that he paid several $100s for, and it was still worth several $100s. When we listed that on an auction, or if we were to list that on an auction today, we would start the auction at a higher price, say $300 or something.
Like your minimum baseline price you'd be okay selling it for.
Right, and then you can kind of gauge and see, well, how much interest is in it, because people will be allowed to bid up over 7 days. So that's one way, or one part of the philosophy we have for buy it now, which you'll see is abbreviate as BIN, buy it now, mm-hmm. versus auction. Now, if it's buy it now, there's options to do 7 days, 30 days, good till cancel. There's a couple other options. We recommend doing good till cancel because especially as you're getting started, 30 days is going to go by pretty quickly. And you don't want to have to go relook at that item and wonder, well, should I relist it? Should I do this? Should I do that? You want to put in as little time and thought as possible, because the biggest way to get your business going and generating income is to list consistently, list the new items consistently.
Right. And think about your store as any other store. If you have 5 items in there, you have very few chances of someone actually buying it. So one of the things that we did in the beginning, if you remember, and I remember like it was yesterday, we started listing things and we got up to 10 items, and then
I never thought we would hit 100 items. I was like, oh, that's so
yeah,
far
like
away.
getting to
There's
100
no way.
items seemed like it was like watching paint dry.
Mm-hmm.
But the more items in your store, the more chances you give yourself to sell things. So
mm-hmm.
Eventually I remember we surpassed 100 on our way to 500 and 1,000. So again, you want to give yourself as many chances as possible to catch someone's eye and get them to give you some money for your stuff.
Right.
Why did I bring that up? Buy it now.
Because it's all related.
Okay.
Next thing that we do is we do charge for shipping. We used to do free shipping, and you'll hear a lot of people online talking about free shipping and the benefits of it, how it's going to get you more sales and blah, 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 blah. There, for us, came a point where it didn't make sense because eBay stopped allowing you to charge a restocking fee. Right. So you're getting the item back. It requires work to process it, to relist it. Costs money to relist it.
And time. And time is money.
Right. So now we charge shipping because it offsets any potential returns. And we actually haven't noticed any slowdown in our sales. Actually, our sales have gone up since we started charging for shipping, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And we can go into detail about that later in the week if that's something you guys want to know about too. Mm-hmm. Our return policy. We do accept returns, 30 days, return shipping paid by buyer.
Yeah.
So that's one of the cringeworthy parts of the business for Jared.
Yeah, it took me a while to swallow shipping, or returns. But the reality is, by accepting returns, you get people who are a little bit skeptical to buy it, because they feel like they had that safety net there.
And you're also showing confidence in your items.
You're showing confidence in your item. Plus, the way we set it up now is that if they want to return it, they pay for the return shipping, which, what I found is it drastically lowers the returns when they have to go and pay for that shipping label, pay that $6 or $10 or however many dollars, and then actually go to the post office to ship it.
Okay, so we're going to talk more about shipping later in the week. This was just a taste test. So if you guys have any questions anything that didn't make sense, anything you need more information on, drop your questions now. We're going to wrap up with our big takeaway lesson. So this is the actual implementable tip that you can use.
Action items to do.
So we'll start with the action item. So the action item for day 1 is to start selling your own items. Go around your house, collect 10 items, and start listing them over the next day or 2. So in order to do that, you need to gather those 10 items. We gave you examples of stuff that we sold. It doesn't have to be perfect. I would recommend starting with clothes. Clothes are the easiest thing to sell. That's 98% of our store today is clothes. And typically the stuff that isn't clothes is stuff that we've had for quite a while when we were experimenting and learning. So I would recommend starting with clothes, but go where your heart leads you. We sold China. We went to the Salvation Army and we bought like $200 worth of China and sold that. And it was long and arduous and I lost money on the first shipment because all of the items broke shipping them. So we'll talk about how to
talk more about that. But some other things, as I'm thinking about it, that was surprising that we sold. I literally had a half a bottle, not exaggerating, I had a half a bottle of Angel Cologne for men. And, you know, at the time it was, it must have smelled good at some point. And now it smelled like paint varnish or something. I don't know. I couldn't take it anymore. But it was a very decorative bottle. It was a crystal bottle.
And I don't think they sell it anymore.
I don't know. But
sometimes companies change their formula. And so people always look for the old formula.
So you guys watching, how many people have old cologne and perfume bottles? And I literally sold this half empty bottle of cologne for
like $40?
$40 or $50. And again, it's Florida because at the time we're still learning.
Right.
Another thing that I sold that shocked me was I had an old watch. Battery died. It was like a fashion watch. It wasn't even a really high end watch. It might have been like Fossil Guess, something like that. You know, so how many of you have that kind of stuff where your significant other has stuff laying around? They wouldn't notice it, you know, and don't want it anyway. So again, there's no right or wrong to kind of get started and find that traction.
So that's your action item, to go find 10 items and list them. Now, what you're going to want to know, the biggest thing when it comes to listing is, well, how do I price my items? And that's our implementable tip for the day. One of the biggest takeaways, and the thing that will do what our title promised, which is help you get consistent cash, high ROI, what do we say? Predictable profit and daily paydays. I think that's what it is, if I can remember.
You love tongue twisters.
I do. Those alliterations, I love them. So comping. All that means is finding the comparable sales, no different than a real estate agent or an appraiser. When it comes to a house, we'll look at the comparable sales. You can find the comparable sales on all of this random small items. So once you download the eBay app, and I'll see if I can show you guys kind of what this home looks like. So this is the home page. There's a search bar at the top. So you're going to put in your item. Let's comp something live. What did you bring down here?
Comp, you want to do my old jersey?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so you're going to comp something that's very specific. So this is a Temple
University basketball jersey.
So I'm just going to put in Temple jersey and see what comes up. I was going to put in practice jersey, but we'll go with...
And then so one of the things, my wife is like sometimes overly specific, right? And I'm like more simplistic. So I like to say that the least descriptors, the better. So I would just write Temple basketball jersey.
All right.
So you don't have to write...
So you're going to put in university?
I would.
All right, so we're going to go with the least thing. So you can see how both of us approach this. But put in 3 to 4 words. 2 if you can get away with it.
Right. Less is more is my philosophy.
So Temple basketball jersey. So...
Oh boy. I might be selling this thing after all. I don't know.
Okay. So when you pull up the results, it's just going to show you the results of items that are for sale. And I have mine locked to show the sold results. But I will show you what we do sort by. So when you pull up the results, it's going to look something like this with the little listings and the titles. I know it's kind of hard to see what the thing, but you get the idea.
And basically it's showing you everything that's currently active for sale on that platform. That you can buy.
But what you're going to do is in the top right-hand corner, you're going to hit the filter button. You're going to scroll down and you're going to see a little toggle and it's going to say sold items. You're going to click sold items, not completed. It'll say completed and it'll say sold. You're going to click... Well, they can't see it with the light. If you can, all right. So sold items, you're going to turn it on. You can see I have it locked to that so that whenever I search something, it always is pulling up the sold items because that's typically what I'm looking for.
Right, so comps mean things that have sold. So that's what you want to know, values of things that have sold. This goes back 60 days, I believe?
Yes.
So it tells
sometimes more than that, sometimes 90. Okay. You're also going to want to put in the item condition as used.
If it's used.
I know this is backwards. And then we always like to know what the highest one. So sort by, come on, focus. Sort by, whatever. Highest price plus shipping.
Right, because we're trying to figure out a way to, we want to know what the highest one sold for and what they did, and all we have to do is repeat it.
Right. So what's the top of the market? Because that's going to determine if it's even worth listing. If the top of the market is $7 and free shipping, don't bother listing. Hey, that's a sale. Or actually payment. Oh no, sale and payment. So in this time, I still get excited by that noise. Highest one sold for, looks like $39 plus shipping. Next one sold for $24. And there's not a ton of results on this, so there's 8 results of items that have sold. Mm-hmm. But you're still talking above $20. So that falls into our...
So if you had something in your closet or your dresser that you weren't going to wear anymore, would you take $40 for it? Right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, versus putting it out for a yard sale and getting somebody, telling you, here's 50 cents or $1, I'd take $40. Versus going, putting it in a box or a bag and driving down to the to donate it and getting nothing for it,
or a small tax write-off.
Or a small tax write-off, I'd take $40.
Right. So that's how you comp. So you just go into the search and then you filter it by sold items, and then sort it by used, sort it by highest price plus shipping.
You can also sort, if you just don't mind me saying, you can also sort by time, right? So you can sort by, recently what I've been starting to do is look for things that have sold most recently. Right. Because again, if something's seasonal, there may not be a lot of people looking for a mesh tank top right now, right? So I want to know what they sell for these days, because the price will probably go up once it's warmer and people are maybe wearing it. But better example would be something like a sweater.
So opposite end, it's winter time. So this is a sweater vest. It's a Hannah Anderson little boy's sweater vest, and we sourced this for 80 cents, and it's still new with tags. So that goes back to 1 in 3 items that are bought or never worn. We find almost every week new with tags items. So this is
$40 new.
$40 new.
Someone bought it and never used it, never wore it.
Yeah, probably some kid didn't like it.
Yeah.
But guess what? Someone else will get it from us now.
Right.
So that's a good example of the price would be higher now than come March.
Right. So just remember seasonality. Obviously, we have some Christmas themed stuff that we're actually putting on sale tonight, because I really don't want to go into the new year with this stuff. So again, there's some other factors and dynamics to take advantage of.
All right, so we've taught you all the stuff to get started. We've taught you how to comp, and now your action item is to go list 10 items. Go find 10 items in your house, comp them, get them listed, and if you have any questions that come up, just write a post in the group and we'll be sure to answer them.
Please.
So with that being said, we will see you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. for day 2. I guess I should tell the people what day 2 is, right?
Yes, that'd be good.
Let me pull it up because I don't remember off the top of my head.
Go to withyourhoney.com/challenge.
If you haven't signed up yet.
If you haven't signed up yet.
I need to pop it off. Okay. So day 2 is how to get crystal clear on exactly what you need to be doing on a daily basis to hit your financial goals.
You got goals?
Of course.
You should have goals.
So we're going to show you the math behind what you should be doing in order to hit those goals. So I'm excited about that. That's a fun one.
Sounds like fun. And actually invite, if you know someone else who's looking or open, or, invite them on. The more the merrier.
Yes. All right. It doesn't look like we have any questions, so we'll wrap up day 1, and we'll see you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. West Coast, Best Coast time.
With your honey out.
I will gather my 10 things and download the eBay app. Thank you. Yay! Awesome. I'm so excited.
Congrats, Monique.
It'll be so great.
Yep. So we'll see you tomorrow.
All right, guys. Bye.
Ciao.